LeBlanc. Want to see how it goes into the Ari this time around, especially. But for me, it's the fact that Xiaohao gets the Lee Sin again, but also ZDZ willing to go with kind of these crazy picks to the top side of the map. Already had the Aatrox already. I guess it's not too crazy, but now the Cho'Gath coming out, just trying to find things that work differently up in that matchup, and maybe trying to get a little bit better of Hoya again for a second time.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to be too surprised that AL is defaulting back to this LeBlanc and Lee Sin for this final game, because they found so much success on this in the early game, and that translated towards the later stage. And it's obvious to see that they're very comfortable with how these champions are when it comes to those team fights. The biggest change up for me is that iBoy now on something like the Jinx, so not a lot of self-heal ability. So hopefully with Zorah on the Nautilus for this game 3, he's going to be able to be there just like game 2.
Well, we're getting into game 3 now. Summoner's Rift for the final time of the day. The Giles ring as TT versus AL kicks off.
I really need to invest into a white flag emote as well. I didn't realize that existed.
I also love that I could even hear the thunder sticks. That's how loud it's getting there. You can hear the gyos and the thunder sticks. I just want to be in the arena cheering. Anyways, one of these days, right, Kitty, right? And we're going to get into a bit of a setup here for AL versus TT, because last time, Xiaohao, undescribably good on the Lee Sin, his signature pick. Got the MVP. Now it's really about what Beichuan does on this Vi, a signature pick throughout the meta of the LPL so far, and the meta of the world, it feels like, but needing to find at least a little bit of traction early, it feels like.
Yeah, and talking about traction early, it is going to be a fight for the bush priority between these two melee supports, but I would love to see both of these junglers putting all their focus towards the AD carries of this game, because top lane, I mean, yes, you have a Siren versus Cho'Gath. The hook barely misses from Zorah. That was very scary. But you have a Cho'Gath versus Siren in the top side, and it's most likely going to be a very isolated matchup, and you can put all of your influence by playing of either mid lane's priority of this game and set up that tempo.
Ooh, little trades going back and forth yet again, as we've seen tradition down here, but especially with the Leona and the Nautilus matchup. pinz this time in some early trades into Ucal.
Really nice combo as it procs the electrocute onto Ucal as well, and that forces him to use another corruption pot charge as well. So it does seem that this LeBlanc is getting lane control for the early levels, and that allows Xiaohao to perhaps look for an aggressive invade onto Beichuan with that priority in the mid lane. We'll have to wait and see, because I think when you look at both of these team compositions, TT, they find the most success when yuyanjia is on an engaged support that can pair very well and synergize with Beichuan, that can get their hands onto the backline of AL. And this time around, I mean, iBoy, I mentioned this earlier, he's on the Jinx. He has a cleanse. Yes, that's maybe enough, but we're not too sure, because the amount of mobility that TT have and gap closing potential is going to be very scary, and how this Jinx is going to position herself. While AL, they have the Lee Sin again, and all thanks to Xiaohao and is able to find those insects, they're able to bring that game to the third one as well.
Yeah, and it's been a story of just grit for AL. And able to control a game coming off that game where TT had, again, so much domination across the table. Now Beichuan looking in mid lane as Ucal bait in a little bit of a fight. pinz, you're caught out now. Does have to burn that flash, but Xiaohao's here as well, looking for first blood from somebody, some way, somehow. Both junglers visiting the mid lane.
Flash for flash, and by the end, Xiaohao was trying to look for an angle onto Ucal, but Beichuan was not giving up his positioning, as he was desperately trying to block that Lee Sin Q to save Ucal. And in the end, I would much rather a LeBlanc flash getting traded off than this Vi, because you just have the flash built into your kit. I mean, to be fair, I guess Vi also has a flash built into her kit. They both have dashes, but LeBlanc's one is definitely a little bit more annoying to deal with, especially if you don't have that ultimate from the Vi to lock her down just quite yet. But very quiet early
It's
game.
instant
for both teams.
gratification for the LeBlanc with hers, where it's a
Yeah.
little bit of a build-up. They have to charge the vault breaker. I'd take the instant gratification. I don't know about you.
Do you remember when LeBlanc got changed, where her ultimate would be a second clone, and you would have two LeBlancs chaining you from different directions, and then I guess people from the League community wasn't a big fan, and they reverted the old LeBlanc, and that's where we have where we're at for now. But it is going to be a wraparound for Beichuan in this top side. Hasn't been spotted.
Didn't get spotted. That's so big. Stepping up as ZDZ, not knowing what waiteth in the wings. The knockup actually not going to connect, and neither is the vault breaker. ZDZ is just mind gaming him right now.
ZDZ
He
is
has
level
level 6. He gets the knockup. He eats him down good, putting him with a little bit of spice as well. We'll see if Beichuan can follow it up. He does. So first blood for ZDZ, a TT response.
That was an excellent outplay coming out of ZDZ, as he also gets the ghost from Hoya as well. But it is going to mean that AL starting this dragon for at the 5-minute mark. But still, I mean, that's exactly what we expect out of a Cho'Gath versus Sauron lane. He was able to get that extra wave in, and it did mean the difference at the very end, as Hoya was sitting on that level 5.
A little bit of level diff coming out, but oh my goodness,
The
there's an
ghost didn't
avalanche
pop.
coming bot lane now as well, and Huanfeng gonna have to flash, but still gets hit. Everything going for it.
Good
Yuyanjia, the
luck.
man of the hour, flashes in front of the dredge line. It saves Huanfeng's life. I got you, Captain.
I'ma be real. That's the most romantic thing I've seen so far in the summer split. Man, yuyanjia on engaged support just hits so different, but of course double summoner is being used by the ADC and support of TT, as they were being a little bit too disrespectful with their own jungler showing towards that top side, and they were just trying to desperately get their wave in. But we'll have a replay of what happened in this top side. Hoya pops the ghost and tries to create space between him and ZDZ, but ZDZ getting a few extra autos in, lands the final knockup and just flash ults, and that is the first blood going towards over this Cho'Gath. And yeah, this is just an overextension from the side of TT. They didn't expect pinz to be there first, I suppose. And unfortunately, that chain connecting. But yuyanjia going out in game 3 with a bang, and the most honorable support on the Rift for tonight.
It's a bit of a banger here in this last series as well, especially just the willingness that we've seen from both sides just to kind of throw themselves at each other. We saw a lot of reservation come through, like post the 25-minute mark last game, which definitely isn't the taste that you want here, but maybe in a game 3 we get a lot more coming to a 5-on-5 fight, because that's where it seems the direction we're headed.
Yeah, and with iBoy picking up this wave, I wouldn't be surprised if it does free up Zorah to slightly roam towards that Rift Troll, which is going to be the next upcoming major objective for both of these teams. It does seem like TT have the slight advantage leaning towards there, and Xiaohao is going to commit and punish this flashless bottom lane while trading off for this Rift Herald, which is great for AL because they're going to continue with what they achieved from earlier.
Trying to at least get a little bit of snowball going on this bottom side is AL.
That was level
Can't
6.
hit the engage from Zorah. There's a big Moonlight Vigil Mega Death Rocket as Jinx from Arcane makes a blast onto the scene.
Okay, maybe Zorah missing the Q didn't mean
All
a
part of
difference
the
at the very
plan.
end, as Huanfeng was just stuck in the corner and he got a Jinx ultimate to his
Another.
face. Hoya has
Give me
rotated
another.
towards here.
Oh no. Oh no, not like this. Not like this. Well, Hoya showed up at the right time and Zorah gets punished.
Look, you can get away with it once, but I'm not sure about 2 hooks missing and connecting onto the wall. But it is going to mean that ZDZ gonna freely pick up 2 plates in this top side, while Beichuan was also able to secure that Rift Herald for the side of TT. But yeah, I mean, it's kind of concerning to see that the Nautilus missed 2 hooks on a tower dive. I hope this trend doesn't continue for the side of Zorah, because we've been praising how his performance on this Rakan has been amazing so far. But back to reality, as Zorah and this Jinx has rotated towards his top side. They don't know, Ucal doesn't know.
Does not, and now we'll have to burn his flash and the Spirit Rush. Still almost dies. Here comes the Mega Death Rocket over the top.
That's the one. Oh no!
Knew it was coming at the last second. He's like, I heard a distant noise of a rocket being fired.
And Ucal does have to burn the flash and the ultimate to escape, but a really nice roam from Zorah. So that does stop the potential of Ucal getting some picks for this upcoming dragon fight, which is going to be in 50 seconds. However, we do have iBoy still sitting in that top side, so his back is going to be a little bit too late if they do want to reconsider to contest this dragon, as you already see yuyanjia making a lot of their vision planted down for a TT.
Actually see a lot of vision being put down before this dragon spawns in about 30 seconds. But yeah, second dragon for AL. Don't know if it's necessarily on their list of priorities right now, as there is a pushing Scion in the side lane, a Rift Herald dropped in mid lane, a lot of fires to put out.
Look, Xiaohao, I don't think you can look for a pick onto Hoya. He still has that ghost available, so either double chain has to be coming out of pinz, or you're just giving up this dragon party free to the side of TT, which is exactly what's happening right now.
They are going to start it up now. Looks like Beichuan already in the pit. Some scans coming out from TT as well, just to make sure, but there is some movement from AL and a TP. You know what that means. We're going to get a little bit of a tussle here. Here comes the unstoppable onslaught from the backside. It's actually Xiaohao who gets the dragon. Here comes Hoya, but he stops the engage because he can't make the distance there. And they have already picked off yuyanjia, and they're looking for more. Back in with the re-engage, though. Beichuan is down at TT. They're falling apart.
And yuyanjia really thought that he could stop Xiaohao from reaching that dragon, but no, AL steals this and goes unpunished. I mean, I was just looking at Hoya because he did join in on the fight very late, but you know, you saw 5 people on your screen for the side of TT, but the true participation in this fight was honestly 4 people, because I don't think this Siren landed a single ability when it came to that 5v5, but we'll have to take another replay at how this all went down. And ZDZ, once again, gnoming down on some very tasty plates on this Cho'Gath, and he is slowly getting very fed. Pun intended.
He's getting bigger and bigger as time goes on. pinz, though, I'm being in some trouble. Okay, has the dodge. Says, no, I'm going to break your ankles. There's actually the reset coming out from Xiaohao, so pinz was all alone down here. But able to deflect a little bit of that pressure from TT. And TT themselves looking for something. Grasping at straws at this point. Looked so damn good in game number 1. But how far have they fallen?
Yeah, they're definitely fumbling it, especially in this game 3, as it is the scoreline being 2-5. But this is the replay that I was asking for from earlier, because Ucal doesn't have that flash and ultimate available. He has to be very careful with how his positioning is, and it's the Xiaohao Lee Sin Q that steals this dragon away from TT. Hoya trying to join in on the fight, but he kind of ults in and walks away as they find another angle onto Beichuan with this mobility, but there's just not a lot of skill shots connecting from the solo laners of TT, and iBoy now picking up those kills. He's sitting on a Kraken Slayer.
That's so big, and I feel like we've seen this story before. It's the classic Aphelios versus Jinx. If they're even, it looks okay for Aphelios. If Jinx is ahead, it is a snowball. And it's just looking really good for iBoy, especially with his first start coming in for AL this split in this series. Let's see if AL can make out of the side lane with pinz. Everybody's flashing, and the CC chain is good. pinz goes down.
I was expecting pinz to give up more of a fight, but he tried everything, as you can't really outrun a Vi ultimate once your head has been locked in. But it is going to be the Rift Herald spawning in 30 seconds as Xiaohao has to catch this wave. So TT do have first move towards this objective towards the top side, but they don't have a lot of those major ultimates available for this next upcoming team fight. So that is very worrying if TT decide to opt into this one.
Very, very true. You got to think about the decision-making process here. We got the TP in the side lane by Ucal. has completed the Everfrost. We have first items coming up for pretty much everybody. But the big thing now is AL positioning around this Rift Herald number 2. There's nobody there.
You see TT desperately trying to make a response play on the bottom side, but yeah, no one being there. I mean, AL, they really did. They are playing so significantly different compared to that game 1, minimalizing a lot of their mistakes, especially in ZDZ, I feel like. Because we saw ZDZ being a little bit of a weak point for getting caught in this early game. But now they're not giving any opportunities over for Ucal to work off.
Rift Herald has been dropped in mid lane now. See if it can actually get the charge around the corner. Oh my gosh, it took
It's
so
gonna
long.
go off.
Not gonna. Does get the charge off. Not gonna get the tower just yet. But something that AL can come back to. Meanwhile, a wave gets pushed under the tier 2. In Z maybe gets caught here by Beichuan. Uses that cease and desist. The charm connects. But here to save the day. Is it gonna be enough? That's a big kick.
He's out.
Z! Every single time this man survives with nothing.
I'm convinced that Ari just doesn't have enough damage to ever kill anyone. That is so unfortunate. pinz chugging his corrupting potion for the dear life of him, and that really made the difference when it came to that pick. And now AL TPing back into the mid lane. They're gonna look to secure this Mountain Soul point.
Yeah, a little bit of damage on the Hoya. He is tanky, but enough shots will do the deal. You got the Kraken Slayer as well for iBoy that you were pointing out earlier. So big. The Dragon up and TT have no say in this fight. Xiaohao should be able to get a third Dragon of the game for AL.
Something that has been missing just a tiny bit is the support and jungle synergy out of TT. Imagine if yuyanjia was also kind of involved in that team fight where they were able to get their hands onto pinz. That damage difference from the Leona could have been a pick for them. But unfortunately, I don't see that same type of roaming ability from yuyanjia in this game 3. Is ZDZ very happy with gobbling up this third Mountain Soul point, and they are running out of time. This Dragon Soul point is going to be around that 21-minute mark.
Very true. And I think that it's a decent lead for AL. Something on TT are still definitely in the driver's seat of if they can find a couple more picks. But this started off so good for TT and ended up with nothing.
Yeah, everything landed from Ucal as well, but because AL just had numbers advantage, and iBoy picks up that final kill as well, getting the double buffs. That is going to really hurt for the next 3 minutes. But yeah, I mean, TT, they kind of seem like they're struggling to find picks onto these carries. We'll have to wait and see though, because I know Ucal and Beichuan have done wonders for this team roster, but it does seem like the hesitancy out of Hoya and yuyanjia is pulling them back a little bit.
They are fully centered on this bottom side of the map right now. Everything else seems to be in control of AL, but TT do not want to give away this bottom side. And at least they have some control around the map. And now just trying to find a way to contest the 2 item spikes that are coming out for AL.
Seriously wondering if TT even had the damage to kill this Cho'Gath. Now sitting on the Jackstraw and the Sunfire. He's going to be quite the menace to deal with for the front line of AL. Well, iBoy, I mean, he has the Gale Force, he has the Flash, so it's going to be pretty hard to get your hands onto this Jinx, especially considering that Xiaohao having an amazing series once again, 5 KP at 6. I mean, even iBoy is sitting on 5, and as well as Zorah, but still having that kick just to protect iBoy in these team fights is really making Beichuan struggle to get those picks.
Some side lane action here for AL. At least gonna get another tower here. And there was a question that came up in my mind earlier that I meant to ask you that we got a lot of fighting, so I didn't get to ask. What do you think Cho'Gath's favorite thing to feast on the entire Rift is? Like, what do you think is his like Oreo cookies or whatever your like fiend snack is? What do you think it is? Which one of the minions or monsters or things?
I would think that it depends on what skin, right? Because if you're using Gentleman Cho'Gath, then he would obviously prefer wine and cheese, but you wouldn't really source your wine and cheese on the Rift.
True.
There's some gunk everywhere. That's pretty much cheese. But we'll have to ask Mr. Cho'Gath himself.
I would love to know. I think in all forms, it's got to be the Rift Herald. Because, you know, Rift Herald probably something that he sees in the void a lot. And maybe it's like a
That's his ally, though. Why would
snack.
he want to eat his ally?
Is it
Aren't
his
they all from
ally? The void is not allies with it. That's just like a dangerous place.
They're not homies?
I don't think so. It's not like they call each other every night to tell them how their day went. It's like, I want to eat you if
don't
I'm
know
hungry.
that.
I feel like that's kind of the angle.
Well, to be
You
fair,
saw
if
how
you're a level
Bel'Veth was
6
looking at
Cho'Gath-
Kaisa. Come on.
Oh, that is true. But it's going to be pretty... It's going to be a very long time before we see a Bel'Veth versus Kaisa on the Rift again. Unfortunately, I wish we had Kaisa meta, but we are getting...
We had Bel'Veth meta ever. I feel like the LPL Bel'Veth just never looked great. But we're getting back into this one, looking at TT getting at least back onto the map and still questioning how they find ways into the game, right? 2.4K, 2.5K in the deficit now. It doesn't feel like that much, but the fact that they're kind of on the back foot with decision making now as AL are on sole point makes it that much more difficult.
And something to point out is that AL is sitting on 2 stopwatches on their main carries. As you see, Beichuan desperately trying to look for something on this side of the map. Ucal does pick up his death cap, so that is going to make up for some of that lack of damage. But this dragon now 30 seconds, and they have no way of walking in to ZDZ, as he is so ginormous on this Cho'Gath as well. And you need to be very careful with who you decide to pick off with the single target CZ that TT do have. These of those stopwatches.
And especially with kind of the positioning that AL are grabbing right now, they're just full on grouping up meatball style and asking TT's favorite sauce.
You have the jungle and mid laner of TT getting spotted out on that pink ward as well. So AL's aware of this, that they're looking for a flank. Xiaohao's going to start the dragon.
Can't get caught out. Huanfeng dodging out there. Mega Death Rocket comes across just to get some extra damage down. Look at Beichuan behind the lines. There is a weird pincer maneuver available from TT. They're just going to pull the trigger. They're just going to go for it. Oh, no. Oh, no. There it goes a long way, Beichuan. The Moonlight Vigil comes out. This is such a weird fight from TT. They're just going to try to fight it front to back with a 4v5. They got Beichuan on the side, but he can't do anything. They've already gone down with yuyanjia and a big insect on the Huanfeng. Xiaohao consistently making the difference. And AL, they are hungry. They are bloody, but they will beat down TT!
And after a slow and methodical fight from AL, they're going to be able to 5-0 this team fight and also pick up their Mountain Soul and work their ways towards this Baron.
What a fight and what disappointment on the face of Ucal. The shining light of TT is no longer shining, and it's truly the side of AL who are shining bright like stars tonight. 5-0-5 on iBoy, 3-1-4 on pinz, who has had a heck of a comeback over the last 2 games, and that's a Baron to boot for anyone's legend.
And being absolutely truthful right now, I think that was the last fight that TT could have contested, because this is now the Mountain Soul and also double Mountain on this Cho'Gath. You already see that Huanfeng is struggling so much to deal with the front line of AL. Hoya getting a double knockup onto this duo, but it's just not enough damage coming out of this squad as Ucal desperately trying to work off these resets, but iBoy goes untouched this entire fight, with yuyanjia not having that flash anymore, and this insect from Xiaohao onto Huanfeng was just this
The fact that pinz predicted the chain into where he was gonna land, everything just working so well for AL, and they're knocking down the front door of TT.
And whoever goes in next from the side of TT is just going to be a death sentence. There's so many defensive abilities on AL right now. Stopwatch is still available for the Jinx and the LeBlanc. Gonna get the mid inhib and slowly work towards that top side.
Gonna get the reset out after getting that inhib tower down and the inhib in mid. 1 minute and 45 seconds just about on the Baron buff. Resets come through. TT, you've got one last gasp for air. You've got one last miracle moment to make if you want to try to take home this game.
We really need to compliment ZDZ in this game 3. Man is level 16 now. 2 Hoya's level 13 on the Scion, and the only reason why AL, at least Eyeball, was able to pop off in that team fight was because how strong this Cho'Gath was, and gobbling up yuyanjia, which is a lonely Leona in that front line, allowed Jinx to play up those resets, and her getting that, getting excited just meant that TT wasn't able to escape, as we see that AL is slowly closing in on them throughout this top side. But TT, what are you doing in that bottom side, buddy? You need to come back to top lane. Hoya can't.
It's like a bunch of sharks circling a dead body in the middle of the ocean. They are swarming right now, and it's looking like a top lane fight that TT are going to have to put up for. They need to get Ucal back here. Yuyanjia is just gone. AL, they've finally done it potentially. One big pig makes the difference. And then now they're catching out Hoya. The dredge line straight to the face of TT. And a TP now coming back from Ucal. Sound the alarms. The emergency is coming. But AL, they're looking for their first series win of the summer split. And it's through TT that they will do it. One more pick, one more fight, and anyone's legend have become just that in this series. The white flag will not be for them, and anyone's legend win 2-1.
And in dominant fashion, they're going to take this series away 2-1. And defeating TT in 2 very convincing ways. I mean, those team fights, they were so well fought out in the hands of iBoy, and he is definitely my MVP coming into tonight.
Absolutely. Getting the start for the first time of the split. Coming over from being a sub for TT. It's huge for him to show up in the moment, right? We know him from the international stints with WE back in the day. This man is a huge carry potential, and he showed it tonight, but it was the rest of the team that